The journeymen, the flamethrowers who bounced from team to team, the ones who, no matter how many times they got knocked down, always came back throwing heat. This is the story of Esmil Rogers, a name you might not hear in Hall of Fame debates, but a name that echoes across multiple leagues, countries, and baseball cultures. To understand Esmil Rogers' journey, we gotta rewind to the mid-2000s. Back then, the baseball world was still transitioning out of the steroid era. New stars like Albert Pujols and David Wright were lighting it up. Pitchers like Johan Santana and Roy Halladay were dominating the mound. But behind all that, a wave of raw talent was making its way from Latin America to the big leagues. Enter Esmil Antonio Rogers. Born in the Dominican Republic in 1985. Like many kids in the DR, baseball wasn't just a hobby, it was life. The sound of a cracked bat was like music. And Rogers? He had a gift, a cannon for an arm, and just enough fire in his soul to take a dream and turn it into a contract. He signed with the Colorado Rockies as an international free agent in 2003. No hype, no fanfare, just another young arm in a sea of prospects. But what made Rogers stand out wasn't just the velocity, it was the hustle. The kind of grind you only learn from pitching barefoot on a dusty field with your future on the line. So let's break down the design of Esmil Rogers, the player. Physically, he was built for power. 6 feet 3 inches, lean, long limbs. His mechanics weren't always polished, definitely a bit raw, but the potential was there. Fastball that touched mid to high 90s. A slider that could break ankles if it hit right. And a curveball that had flashes of brilliance. Now, was he ever ace material? Honestly, no. But that's not the story here. The story is versatility. The man was like a Swiss Army knife. Starter, reliever, long man, closer in winter leagues. You name it, Rogers probably did it in some dugout. In some ways, he was like the Air Jordan 9 of pitchers. Not the most celebrated, not the flashiest, but still essential, still a part of the legacy. The AJ9 dropped when MJ was playing baseball, remember? Kind of poetic if you think about it. Now let's talk legacy. Esmil's MLB career had flashes of greatness, especially with the Cleveland Indians in 2012, where he held it down in relief and showed off a sharp slider that left batters looking shook. But it was with the Toronto Blue Jays in 2013 that we really saw him cook. That squad was a mix of power hitters and aggressive arms. Rogers fit right in, starting 20-plus games and eating innings like a veteran. He even had a couple of shutout gems that season. And real ones remember that 13 Jays rotation was all over the place. R.A. Dickey was throwing knuckleballs like it was a trick shot challenge, and Rogers was just quietly handling business. But Rogers' real impact? It was global. When his MLB run started winding down, he didn't fade away like most do. Nah, he reinvented himself. KBO, CPBL, Dominican Winter Leagues. Dude was a nomad, a baseball mercenary. He went full Ichigo Kurosaki, Soul Reaper mode, bouncing from country to country, slaying batters with that mid-90s gas and veteran guile. Let's run through some of Esmil Rogers' colorways, aka the teams he rocked. Colorado Rockies, 2009 to 2012. His MLB debut, clean purple and black. Altitude pitching, brutal. But Esmil still flashed potential. CTBC Brothers, Taiwan CPBL. Taiwan's league is no joke, and Rogers showed up like a seasoned vet, still throwing fire in his mid-30s. By this point, he was a certified international hooper. But on the diamond, let's talk player exclusives. There was that one game in 2013 against the Texas Rangers. Rogers went 7 shutout innings with 5 strikeouts. Man looked like Pedro Martinez reincarnated for a minute. Fastball had late life. Slider was biting. He was untouchable. And let's not forget the 2019 Dominican Winter League Finals. He was lights out. The hometown crowd in the DR, electric. Like watching a Yeezy drop in real time. Some players are meant for the spotlight. Others, They shine when nobody's watching. Rogers is that second type. Quiet fire. Underrated dominance. The kind of performance you only recognize when you look back and go, damn, that guy really did it all. Not gonna lie, Esmil Rogers is one of those guys I respect more now than I did back then. When you're younger, you're always looking for the flashy names, the Cy Young winners, the MVPs. But now, I appreciate the grinders, the journeymen, the players who bounced around like a pair of beat-up Air Force Ones, but still showed up clean every time. So I want to know from y'all, do you mess with players like Rogers? Do you think he deserves more love in the international baseball convo? And yo, if they dropped an Esmil Rogers-themed cleat with all his team logos stitched on, is the story of Esmil Rogers. Not the most famous name, not the guy who had his own cleats or was front row in a Nike campaign. But if you really know baseball, if you grew up loving the grind, watching late-night Winter League games, and rooting for the dudes who kept coming back no matter how many times the league said nah, then you already know. Rogers wasn't just a pitcher, he was a survivor. From high-altitude games in Colorado to the electric domes of South Korea. From the pressure cooker of Yankee Stadium to the wild energy of the Dominican Winter League. He wore more jerseys than most players wear hoodies in a year, and he gave his all in every single one. In a way, he's like those vintage sneakers you see on the shelf and think, yo, I forgot about these, but they're still fire. And I think there's a lesson in that. Not every player's legacy is built on stats and awards. Sometimes it's about showing up, grinding through the noise, and earning respect across the world. So whether you're a diehard baseball fan, a sneakerhead who appreciates hidden gems, or just someone who roots for the underdog, Esmil Rogers deserves a spot in your mental Hall of Fame. A deep dive into the sneaker culture of Latin American baseball, the hidden MLB stories behind classic New Era fitteds, and a full breakdown of baseball's influence on early 2000s streetwear collabs. Trust me, you don't want to miss it. Subscribe, hit that bell, and keep riding with us. Because around here, we don't just tell stories, we honor legacies. Until next time, stay laced up, stay curious, and never sleep on the underrated. Peace out, legends. Catch you in the next one.